Welcome to the Black Enterprise Profiles of Principled Entrepreneurship series, sponsored by Koch Industries. In our series, we profile individuals who use innovation to advance organizations and our communities. Today, we're talking with Rodney Williams, co-founder of Listener and Solo Funds, two tech companies that are disrupting how we exchange money from mobile payments to peer lending. Rodney, thank you for being with us today.
It's a pleasure.
Let's start with the innovation. Where did the idea for Listener come from, and can you explain to people how the technology works?
Yeah, I think the original premise of the idea was I thought that information sharing between devices was actually pretty difficult. When you look at how infrequent and frequently we use swiping of a card or tapping of a phone or even opening a car door, these are all examples of short-range communication. Ideally, we felt that every phone should be easily be able to communicate with something nearby. And that was the original premise. To do so, we had to recreate the way information is shared. We decided to leverage the speaker and the microphone as a way to send and receive information.
The data transmission over audio is really in its infancy, and you guys are the pioneers. So can you walk us through the evolution of the company in terms of how you first used the technology and how it's evolved?
Data transmission of audio is better to do a lot of things. It's our duty and goal to find the most lucrative and place that has the most opportunity. And mobile payments quickly started to show surface about 3 years ago. We were the first winners of Visa Everywhere Payment Initiative. Literally, it was a national startup competition, and out of nowhere, the marketing company, quote unquote, won Visa Payments Everywhere. So it wasn't a signal 15 or 3 years ago. It's taken us that time to shift the company from pushing and sending advertisements or engagement to what would it take to send something secure? What would it take to make sure that no one would be able to capture the information shared? And that's the advancements that happened over the past 3 years.
Along the way, you've challenged the status quo in industries from live event ticketing now to mobile payments. Did you set out to be a disruptor?
I set out to try to pursue deep technology. There's all types of companies, right? I could build something specifically for our community, or I could build something for all humans. And for me, I thought I want to use core insight that is completely prevalent in my community and then transfer it to human insight.
As you've grown the company, you've announced partnerships with major corporations from Intel, NBC, Ticketmaster, most recently Visa. How is Listener creating value for those companies?
More consumers will be able to use this than any other transaction technology. Retailers, it gives the power back to retailers. I always say, sometimes they say, out of all mobile transactions, who owns mobile transactions? Actually, retailers own more transactions than any other form of product. And the way I can explain that is, I think it's 1 out of 3 consumers, when they go into a Starbucks, they use a Starbucks app.
So let's talk about Solo Funds for a minute, because you didn't just sit around and say, I've made a success with Listener and I'm done. And I'd like to specifically talk about payday lending and the impact that it has on low-income communities, on communities of color, versus the benefit of what you guys are putting forward.
The way we designed it is that the institution shouldn't benefit off of the discretionary need of capital. Individuals should benefit, right? So that's one of the things that people don't inherently see it.
Right.
Payday lenders, the 400% that's being charged is made by some payday company organization that's squeezing the wealth tax from our community. Solo is activating the community to lend to the community, and that they're making the tax. So it's redistributing it right back into the same community.
So microloans, which is what Solo Funds does, loans of $1,000 or less, are not just for paycheck to paycheck. I think for a lot of minority entrepreneurs, they're an important part of how they fund their business. Have you seen that usage borne out on the platform?
Right now, we have been focused on the small dollar loans, but what we're actually doing is focusing on the science of making sure that our thresholds of repayment and our thresholds of the solo score is as accurate as possible. And what we're cultivating with small dollar loans in short duration is transactional data that is very, very hard to replicate. That's going to be our competitive advantage. I think we are already past 80,000 transactions.
Okay.
All right, so if you can imagine, we're collecting a lot of data. So the point is, we're going to have a better predictive model on this type of consumer's ability to repay, not based on past history, but based on the fact of how you can repay in a certain date and time.
At Black Enterprise, we always advocate for Black entrepreneurs to partner with each other. You have Black co-founders, you have Black investors. Was that important to you?
The narrative around entrepreneurship in African Americans and technology is a narrative that people are starting to believe in. So today, it's much easier. I went the first 4 years of listening not having an African American investor versus, I think solo 50% is funded by an African American investor.
Yeah, you've got Richelieu Dennis, you've got Monique Mosley.
Yep, that list keeps growing.
You, with both companies, have been through tech accelerators, and you're now a Techstars mentor. What is the biggest thing that you've learned from being tapped into the ecosystem of entrepreneurs?
I'm learning how to run companies and technology companies. I'm learning from the best investors. I'm learning from the best mentors, the best accelerators. I've done probably like 8 to 10 accelerators. I like to think that we're doing something special in Los Angeles. Los Angeles, because somebody needs to write the story about Los Angeles because no one has, but technically Los Angeles probably has I would say like 80 or 75% of the VC funding of African Americans.
What are you trying to impart then as a mentor to those people who are coming behind you?
We're trying to create an ecosystem. This isn't a 2-year thing, a 1 year thing. This isn't a quick win. No, I'm here to stay. I want to be able to fund founders. I want to be able
Right, because you're an investor now.
I'm an investor now. I want to be able to bring all these guys, put them under the roof of whatever this entity is called, and we should continue to do it. And then guess what? Who are my friends? My friends are the Delanes that play VSs, the Deshans at Mavens, the Morgans at Blavity. The ecosystem has already been developed, and it's going to be very, very interesting in what it looks like in a couple of years versus what it looks like today.